Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome aboard. Welcome to another edition of the Pan-African Pyramid Show that happens here on Friday at Fairway Hotel from 5 to 8 p.m. And a recorded version of the same runs on MBS television on Saturdays from 4 to 5, and the repeat runs on Monday from 2 to 3 p.m. My name is Andrew Irumba Katusabe, your speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, on the panel tonight, I have distinguished guests actually. They have already taken seat. For those of you who are following us online, the first one is Mr. Cultures-Rwagweri. Mr. Cultures-Rwagweri is a UNESCO expert on cultures and a director of Ngabu Zator. Give him a round of applause. Africa is a vast continent with a diversity of cultures. Rather than see this as an impediment to development, the continent should take advantage of this rich cultural diversity in its quest for economic development. Africa should instead actually change the attitudes of its people towards work, interpersonal trust, and the time management, and then without forgetting the skilling of the youth and equal distribution of resources, of opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, according to the United Nations Educational Scientific Cultural Organization, called it UNESCO, culture is defined as a complex whole which includes knowledge, beliefs, arts, morals, laws, customs, and any other capabilities and habits acquired by a human as a member of society. Culture can also be defined as the characteristics and knowledge of a particular group of people, defined by everything from language, religion, cuisine, social habitats, music and arts. As the mother continent and first inhabited region on the earth, Africa is characterized by vast lands and one of the largest populations on the planet, with rich human heritage and cultural diversity. Ladies and gentlemen, the broad history of Africa tells the world about the story of our civilizations, ranging from the first artists that left impressions on their rock shelters to the scholars who built great universities in the Sahara. Ladies and gentlemen, the treasure of Africa's unique identity encompasses iconic natural places as Serengeti, Table Mountain, and Victoria Falls, and the origin of the history of mankind from the fossil hominid sites of Olduvai, George, and Skark-14 to the pyramids of ancient Egypt. Dear comrades, the high walls of our great forts and castles from the colonial era recite sad stories of slavery and remind us of the long story of African struggle for independence and liberation. Africa's rich history and culture are so diverse that it varies not only from one country to another, but also within regions and countries. The culture of each ethnic group holds together the authentic social fabric of traditional practices and rites, art, music, and oral literature through which identities are built. Comrades, as such, the diversity of cultures, religions, languages, and traditions should not be addressed as a barrier to development. Rather, the continent should take advantage and build on this rich diversity in its quest for prosperity and change of the attitudes of its people towards issues related to economic growth, social development, and relation with the environment. What matters most is the ability to use Africa's legacy of cultural resources to trigger the development and economic transformation of the continent in order to realize the vision of the Africa we want by 2063. So the question is, how can we use culture as a resource for economic development? Ladies and gentlemen, other than looking at our diversity in cultures as a means of division, how do we turn this rich culture of Africans, the continent of Africa, as a tool for development? I cannot start this debate better than inviting Mr. Cultures-Rwagweri, who is a cultural expert at the UNESCO level. That's an international level. He advises the UNESCO, the body that takes the whole world globally, that manages our heritage or cultures. And so, if we start with him, Mr. Rwagweri, we would actually be making a great and a grave mistake. So I would like to take this opportunity to ask Mr. Rwagweri to take the podium and start from there. How do we use our culture as a tool for development? Mr. Rwagweri, use the platform.
Thank you very much, the speaker, my colleagues, the members of the panel tonight, all people in this room, ladies and gentlemen. I'm called Cultures-Rwagweri. I am a culture expert, but I prefer to call myself a culture facilitator.
You facilitate culture?
I can facilitate people to use culture in socio-economic transformation. We started an NGO, a CBO, called Observatory, that steadily grew over years, reflecting on the same question of how to use the culture in socio-economic transformation of our lives. Steadily, I ended up at the UNESCO level. I have done a number of things to take the cultural elements of Uganda into the international mechanisms of UNESCO under the 2003 UNESCO Convention on Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage, some of which elements are inscribed and internationally protected. The Kempako heritage, for some of you have heard, from the communities of Western Uganda, and Kogere oral traditions, which is a catchword to symbolize the oral traditions of the ancient Nyoro Empire. Back to the topic. The speaker has given a very powerful preamble on the topic that I really have very little to add. I will not repeat it. The definition, he quotes the authority of UNESCO and brought it clear. And then he moved into the significance of cultural heritage. The role of cultural heritage. Probably on describing what it is, I can add on that culture is not static. It is heritage that keeps a living heritage which adapts to the changing conditions and changing circumstances. This is a very important statement in the background. Culture can also, for purposes of analysis, the aspects of culture can be categorized as tangible and intangible, material, immaterial, movable, immovable. We won't go into all those details when people want to analyze and categorize different aspects of culture. But culture is the totality of experience of a human being. In the past, there was limited demarcation between culture and the economy, which we are trying to analyze today. People's livelihood was part and parcel of their cultural manifestation. You could not separate this is culture, then this is economic activity. But today, the world is moving with that discipline of specialization. That's why you know that the king was everything in the past. Was a religious leader, was a chief justice, was a speaker of parliament, was the medical officer, was everything. So life was not specialized like today. So this aspect, as we discuss the subject, we need to have it in the background that livelihood or people's economic aspect were not necessarily separated from their cultural experience and cultural manifestation. The role of culture in human development. We begin with the principle that culture is a basis of confidence. Yes. Culture affirms a sense of identity. Who am I? Who am I? And this sense of identity generates confidence, creativity, and innovation, which are key drivers of genuine socio-economic and human development. That is the very first principle, that culture affirms a sense of identity, to recognize yourself, to understand yourself. Who am I? And after doing that, then it generates creativity, confidence, and innovation. Today we can argue that for somebody to develop or a community to develop, those three aspects are very important: creativity, confidence, and innovation. They are genuine development. I'm going to keep using the word genuine development because Uganda today, we sort of have developed our own understanding of certain concepts or certain fundamental values in human society. We can pose a question: is it necessary to be confident and creative for anybody to be developed, or a community to be developed? Culture is a foundation of discipline, which is a prerequisite for achieving genuine development. Of course, this is another area of debate, especially in Ugandan society today, the question of discipline. What is the role and position of discipline in development? Some people, there is a way we look today at development. Somebody can steal, can be corrupt, and get quick resources, build structures, and is honored as developed. Does that, and that person, it is not discipline. To steal, to be corrupt is not discipline, but somebody is developed in the definition of today. And that's why I'm using the concept of genuine development. It can be an area of debate. Is that genuine development? Is that sustainable development? If we develop out of cheating and corruption and build superficial structures based on wrong principles and this lack of discipline, is that genuine community development? That's an area of discussion. Culture is a mobilizational tool. You know, people to develop collectively, we need to be organized, we need to be mobilized. Therefore, anything for us to achieve collective development, the role of mobilization is critical. If culture can play this role very well, then culture is a tool in development. If it is used very well to get people ready to take action, collective action, to improve their conditions. Culture is a resource and raw material in production. Well, culture is a great resource. This is the biggest point now here. after looking at the fundamentals and the principles. The biodiversity, the artifacts, the traditional design, all these things that are within our environment and our context, they constitute our heritage. And they are our culture. We define them, we describe them, their own language, their own concepts. They come from our ancestry. The biodiversity that is around us, we coexist with it. We harness it, we help it to grow, to be, and we exist in it. All that is our heritage. The human activity and design, in art, in architecture, in construction, which we get from our traditions, all that constitute. But more often, these resources, if we are to look at production and service industry, they constitute a very big percentage. Today as we stand, one aspect of cultural economy, which I call artisan, the crafting, handmade. Handmade alone is contributing, has got a volume of income globally, which is 500 billion US dollars. Just handmade economy. And it is growing, its total value, it's growing at 20% per annum. That statistics was for 2020. You can see the strength, the contribution of culture. And moreover here we are only quoting the handmade economy, artisan, which is contributing to the global economy annual returns of 500,000 billion US dollars, and expected to grow at 20% per annum. And our question is, where is the position of Africa? That is global statistics in utilizing this cultural resource to contribute to development. Now, culture provides the most resilient resource in human nature. The most resilient resource. Before I reach that point, indigenous knowledge. We have talked about the cultural materials and cultural skills, but we also have indigenous knowledge. Our indigenous knowledge, if it is well organized, it can inform modern professions. Indigenous knowledge can inform and create good practices in modern professions like medicine. Herbalists can inform. Knowledge from herbalists can inform medicine, architecture, construction, legal practice, all these professions. Our traditional justice system can inform the current legal profession. So, indigenous knowledge, which is very rich, how have we utilized it to development? Our practices, our traditions, our behavior, our dance, our traditions, our ceremonies, our rituals can inform the service industry today, can be a basis of understanding, of creating good service industries. We shouldn't look at all the industries development that we have, that they should originate from other civilizations. And yet we are sitting on a very rich resource. We have not utilized the abundance of culture, of heritage. So 3 levels, our biodiversity, and all the cultural materials and assets around us, how they can work as raw materials and resources in production, our practices, our morals, our languages, how they can inform service industry, and our indigenous knowledge in all these professions, how they can inform good practices. is the most resilient resource in human nature. Most resilient. In the conditions of extreme deprivation, cultural resources will be the last one to be deprived of. If you are going to be deprived of every resource around you, denied of every opportunity, they will deny and deny and deny. But the last thing to deny you is your culture, your cultural heritage. It's a distance, so it is very resilient.
They can deny me food, they can deny me leadership position, they can deny me education, they can deny me health. They should never deny me my culture. They
should never deny your culture. If by the time they reach to deny your culture, then they have denied everything. Therefore, being resistant, that culture is, you look at the people who have not gone to school, have been denied modern education and the investment in training. But what do they have? They have their traditional skills. They have their cultural knowledge. Therefore, if we put investment on what they have, they will catch up. They will catch up in development. People like refugees who are forced to leave everything behind and go to the unknown with nothing. But they will go with artisan skills. They will go with their cultural expression. They will go with their stories, telling their oral traditions. And if we invested in these as resources, they will start from there. When we look at the people who are the most incapacitated physically, mentally, or other ways. Take example of people who have chronic diseases, persons with disabilities. They are so much physically, probably even mentally incapacitated to do anything, to be productive and contribute to the economy. But they can do handmade. Person with disability can engage in handmade manufacturing, and he competes. He produces things which compete with the modern industries today. When I was entering in this beautiful hotel, I saw the wall decors around there, decorations. They are handmade, crafting, which means somebody who is so depraved physically, who have been denied everything, can contribute to the makeup of this complex infrastructure by that product. I'm speaking this with the strength. I got an international award recently on innovations, and actually this point alone, we are defending the issue of promoting equitable and inclusive development. Where can we invest if we want to promote, to drive equity and inclusion? How can we reach the most marginalized groups of the population? People at the lowest pyramid, socio-economic pyramid, at the lowest level. They have been denied everything. They are incapacitated in everything. They have not gone to school. They have not trained in anything. But they have their cultural heritage. And if we invested there, they have their skills. They have their artisan skills. They have their knowledge, cultural knowledge. You see, take example of these people that I call most disadvantaged people, marginalized people like indigenous people, indigenous women, where others may even consider them that they are next to animals and development has left them. But these people are richest in their culture. They are richest in their cultural knowledge and expression. Now, if we invested in that cultural knowledge, these people will compete with the most advantaged segments of the population. This is to the extent how culture can be a very strong resource in socio-economic development. Now, as we try to use culture for development, we have to be aware of some challenges where it can be abused, the process can be abused. I want also to comment on this. One is the academia, they call that plagiarism. In trying to use culture for socio-economic development, there are risks of stealing the skills. And this is where we have a problem. You see, for example, somebody in industrialized communities, they come to Africa. They discover a lot of beautiful, fantastic, unique designs. For example, crafting. Very unique designs. But these designs have not been developed. They are dying, they are facing extinction because there is no capacity development investment. Now, somebody from China will look at that design, he admires it, he picks it. He goes to China and modifies the design and produces a product at scale even, in big quantities, and then he brings it here, floods the market, and we start buying as new. Yet, the design was copied from here.
You realize, you just said in your own message that Mpako in Itogo is UNESCO scripted. Can you explain to a Mutoro listening to you what that means in the real context? How does that Mutoro benefit from his Mpako being inscribed by UNESCO? Does it mean that to use or to practice my rituals, like you just said, I need permission, I need approval of UNESCO? How does Africa benefit from their collaboration with UNESCO?
Thanks very much. UNESCO, headquarters can be anywhere. Anywhere you provide infrastructure.
Okay, but
let me proceed there.
For convenience, what is it, where is it now?
UNESCO is me and you, because it is an agency of the United Nations, and the United Nations is a voluntary association of nations. You associate voluntarily, nobody forces you. Now, it is an arrangement put by the world that now, when we have our sovereignty in our own countries, can we beyond that come together, form an association in order to tackle things that we cannot tackle individually? So that is UNESCO. It's me and you. When we see its management, Uganda, here we have what we call Uganda National Commission for UNESCO. That is the first headquarters you should know of UNESCO.
Where is the second one?
It is in the Ministry of Education. And it has nothing, no foreigner is there, it is Ugandans. It's a Ugandan institution. Uganda National Commission for UNESCO.
Culture, Mr. Speaker, is about identity. It's about unity. It's about heritage. Now, when you go to countries like North Africa, their region is more embedded in their culture. And even I like the way how even they name their children. Muhammad bin Hussein. Bin means the son. Like me now, I'm going to Twewaze Mwene Kashaya.
Bin Kashaya.
Mwene Kashaya. The son. Bin. Twewaze Bin Kashaya. And you see, that one clear, whether you are an American, whether you are from Asia, you know that this is an Arab man, isn't it? And this is what we are talking about. Mr. Speaker, sir, a culture is an identity that does not only reflect as an individual, but defines even the entire society. Mr. Speaker, sir, Uganda, what is our identity? In United Kingdom, they have a kingdom. And that kingdom is their identity. When I was doing the research, Mr. Speaker, sir, they are using their heritage, their culture, to earn millions and millions of dollars from their monarch. Actually, the last time I checked, United Kingdom fetches 7.7 billion pounds every year.
From where?
From trade, tourism, and media and arts. From that kingdom. And I hear even the last time, just few weeks ago, when they were installing the king coronation, they collected over 125 million US dollars. If you want to be associated in the media and some other things, you can imagine. If you want to be associated with the coronation, you pay CNN, UBC. Have you seen now? This is what I was expecting from my friend here. That when you invest this, you will get this. And UNESCO.
That's why my question, Tim, was,
yes,
when you scraped the Toro embargo, what did we get at the Toro? I wanted that to come out clear.
Like he has an organization called the Toro. He has not told us since his establishment how much have they really gained from the organization and how many people have been really positively gaining from the organization and how it has transformed the Toro. Apart from maybe advocacy, that is also a benefit. It's also a benefit, but I want to know more technically the benefits. Now, Uganda's economy depends on agriculture, exports, minerals, and services. But Mr. Speaker, sir, Africa is the most hospitable continent on earth.
That is true.
Actually, in 1938,
how old were you then? 1938.
I don't know whether my father was still around.
So you read it in history?
Yes.
What happened
in 1938? Africa was leading in the whole world what they used to call the African stroke traditional hospitality. Because it's only Africa where you can see a female kneeling for you. And it's not just because they are pretending, it's part and parcel of their practice. And they had even a traditional way of welcoming guests. Look at the guest in 400 meters. You leave what you are doing, you put on a nice smile, you rush to him, and you welcome the guest. So we had a way how we are very, very rich in culture, and that culture would be used in tourism and hospitality industry to generate a lot of money. Now, I want to tell you, if our African professionals in this tourism industry are well trained and managed, we can run all these hotels you see in the whole world. When it comes to natural beauty, we are the best. When it comes to natural smile, we are the best.
When it comes to hospitality.
Yes, but we are not utilizing that to generate money, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I have to explain.
Especially when they were to speak, how
yes,
to help you.
But all the way how they have that spoken, soft speaking kind of. It is very enough really use, a tourist who is coming in. We should be even having a tour at the airport.
How can Africa use its diverse rich cultures and traditions as economic tools for socio-economic development? Right Honorable Speaker, sir, the Pan-African Pyramid today, this topic is really a truly African liberation movement topic. Next week, the 25th of May 2023, the African people from all over Africa and the diaspora will be marking 60 years since the idea of Pan-African unification was launched by our forefathers on the 25th of May 1963, making it 60 years on that day. Our forefathers, Nkrumah, Nyerere, Kenyatta, fronted proposals for a united Africa as a prerequisite for development. In the last 60 years, African countries have tried to develop, but as disunited African countries. African countries have tried to develop under the definition and terms of the white imperialist world. Even the development they talk about, which is even in this topic, is development as defined by the white man. It is going to be development by the white man's indices of development.
According to how he sees it.
The imperialist West has set the bar on who should be called rich and who should be called developed, and which countries should be called least developed. The Western world has developed their own yardstick on who is developed and who is not. As you are all aware, last year in the wisdom and assessment of our dear leaders in Uganda, it was resolved and reached by the president that Uganda had reached a medium income status as a country. But when President Museveni mentioned that, the World Bank and the IMF all denounced it. They shut down our president. They said the statistics does not speak that Uganda is a middle income nation. Our president kept quiet. He had no response to that. Therefore, even condemning ourselves as poor Africans is a mental slavery. Is a cultural mental slavery. That Africa is a rich, is a poor country. Both you speakers who spoke before me, Kashaya and Atogi, said culture is an identity. The moment we allow the Western world to break our back and our morale that Africa is a poor continent, then we shall call ourselves undeveloped. But what is development? Mr. Speaker, sir, Africa is the richest continent. And it is the most developed in the world culturally. That is socially, politically, and economically. If we looked at our development in our own lenses, a truly developed country is developed socially, economically, environmentally, and economically.
And cultural.
And culturally. Western developments are only measured on economic indices.
GDP.
GDP and per capita. And I'm very disappointed in my president, Museveni, because when he came in 86, he was a very revolutionary leader. But there are now 37 budgets which have been read, and each budget rates Uganda on GDP and per capita. Gentlemen, what is GDP? Gross domestic product. This is an index developed by the European countries during the Industrial Revolution. And so we're still using it to assess African countries.
Teach more, Professor, teach more.
Gross domestic product means there is somebody monitoring how much is being produced in Uganda every year. Produced at which factory? What about what the Mutoro is producing in Toro? If he had 100 cows, now he has 200. Is that not production?
Free your mind now.
Is that reflected in our budget index? No. The gross domestic product says 70% of our production is subsistence. non-monetized. If I went to your place, I'll find that the average Mutoro, since January to December, has gone to the garden, has fed his children, grown potatoes, fed his children, gone to the lake, fished, fed his children without exchange of a dollar. And I can assure you that statistics is missed by the Ghana National Bureau of Statistics.
Free your mind now. Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
The Bank of Uganda does not have 70% of what we produce in this country. I want to give you an example. If a Mohima cattle keeper has 100 cattle and he has never registered a factory for production of meat, at the end of the year he has 130 cows. I can assure you that statistics is not captured by Bank of Uganda. He has no registered company, he's not paying taxes, but has he not produced?
He has.
Have those cows not produced?
They have.
Is that not a gross domestic product?
Isn't that wealth?
Isn't that wealth? Africans are not like homeless Americans and Europeans. Americans and Europeans are immigrants from Europe. They don't have ancestral land in America. These are jobless, homeless people.
Free your mind now.
Who is richer? You, an African boy whose father left 1 acre in the village. You are landed, you are rich. You are richer than the American. Let us free ourselves from the mental slavery.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament.
South Africa is an underdeveloped country. At least every African has inherited at least 1 acre of land from his ancestors. Most Africans are landed rich people. But the GDP index theory classifies them as non-GDP productive. By the way, Mr. Speaker, sir, where is the secretariat which keeps the record of GDP? After that, they divide it by the population to say they have per capita income. That is wrong. Why is it wrong? Uganda's population. We have 5 million refugees from South Sudan, DRC, Congo, and Uganda is one of the most hostile people. Not so? Yeah. So when they
it's actually the country that hosts the
biggest now.
The biggest now.
In millions. So I want to ask the World Bank, the GDP of Uganda, you divide it by which population?
Teach, Professor.
The Ugandan population, even you, the IMF, you are also here. You also divide. It's not Africa. Therefore, we are what the West says we are. And as an African Christian, I know that I'm not what the devil says I am. I'm what the Creator says I am. Similarly, we Africans are not poor just because World Bank, IMF, and the Bureau Institute say we are poor. We must identify our wealth with our culture. Are we culturally poor? We are not. Are we culturally rich? Yes, we are. So, Africa, we are rich. And let's begin to say we are rich. We are rich as Africa. If you looked at the mineral wealth of Uganda, the marbles of Karamoja, the oil in Bunyoro,
the reason they are fighting them.
Exactly. Are those wealth of a poor country or a rich country? On the contrary, it is the Western world who are poor. You made a very valid point. You said, wealth that is grabbed by corruption is not genuine wealth. I told you, all the wealth in Europe is grabbed from Africa, exploitation from Africa. Therefore, there is no country in Europe that is rich.
Teach, Professor, teach. Give me a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Look at the artifacts they captured from Africa. Look at all the gold, ivory they grabbed from Africa to Europe. I tell you, your definition of economic development is very, very right. As a person, if your development is from corruption, you are not rich. As a nation, if your development is because you exploited African minerals, then you are not rich.
You are the poorest.
You are the poorest. Look at France. I have always told you on this forum that France cannot survive for 6 months if Africa stopped the exploitation of uranium in Mali by France. All their power is nuclear energy. And they don't have...
Free your mind now.
First, I want to say good evening to everybody. Also, Mrs. Speaker, audience, and presenters. My question to my brother here, you related the culture to different economics, you related it to development. But there is very serious issue, like in Sudan, the effect of religion in cultures. Because I'm not very clear about Christian, but in Islamic culture, you find if Islam came to Arab, Islam come, even Christianity, it came to, as white belief, it came to the white. And when it came to Arab, there was an Arab culture different from the Islam. But if you have today, as in Sudan, we are Muslim, but we have our own culture. Pure African. Our grandfathers, they are not Muslim, they are not Christian. They have their own traditional beliefs. So, for me, when they named me, when they slaughter and they named me, they gave me name Nini. That means strong man, and the second one, Nini. But when I go to school, I'm not allowed to just as that name. So they imposed for me an Arabic name. So there is also, if you look to most Christian and Muslim, they have Islamic or Christian name. So I don't know how you did mention it well, how the religion can affect the culture, because I'm not expert on that. But it has a lot of effect. Like now, an African woman, if I want to get married to a Christian man, from my culture, because I originate from the culture, they are not restricted to get married to any person. We have religion tolerance in our area. But because of that culture and mentality, if you become a Muslim, you have to get married to a Muslim man. Restricted. But for them, they can do that. So they want me to split me in my religion plus the culture. In Islam culture, Islam is not divided or is not separated from Arabic culture. Because if you look right now, when they talk about the political Islam, so there are so many culture in Islam. They are not, it's belonging to Arab, it's not belonging to Islam. Let me go to the point, my point also. You talk about how the culture related to the equality development. But if you look here, like in Uganda, and I want to say specifically in Uganda, because I have been to many countries, Uganda is the only country where you find, if you want to be a pure African or woman African, you find it in Uganda. And you mentioned also another point here. For me, I met to many different African countries. But if you look here, Uganda is the only country. As you mentioned, no one can die from the female or hunger. Because I usually go early in the morning to the casino in the morning when they are selling vegetables. You find people collecting from the rubbish. So, and that things, it's not here in the world. You cannot go just to the rubbish and you get food. And this food is not spoiled food. It's very good. You can even collect it and you go outside and you get 100,000 a day. So, and I want you to emphasize, there is something, the culture in Uganda is very affected, mostly because Uganda, if you find a Ugandan who is a very educated, when he goes back to his home, he doesn't show that he's an educated man. He comes down to his people. He's not anywhere. So I want you to encourage you, in all cultural days. I want to encourage you, please try to take this culture to other countries. I was in Nigeria. I went to Rwanda, I went to some, if you go to South Sudan, even if he's not, you find him is not educated, but you see him dressing, showing off that I'm from somewhere. So please try also to teach people how to combine between culture and religion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity offered to me. For me, when we talk about heritage, you can't miss out speaking about land. You can't miss speaking about our ancestors. Before we talk about elevating and teaching our young brothers and sisters about Africa, let us learn how our grandfathers, maintain this heritage without even a budget. What we have right now, it is something that our grandfathers, great-grandfathers kept without any coin, without any trade affairs and everything. How did they do it? I like Professor because every time he stands here, he speaks about family. They used the family circles to maintain culture and heritage. With the families of Africa being broken, we don't have culture, we don't have heritage. Where we find a young child beating up a mother because of 200 shillings. Is that the way we are keeping our heritage and culture? So, we as Africans, we should go back and learn how our fathers kept families intact. Where a man could stand and speak and they say a man has spoken. But we've gone into the secular world whereby they will tell you that equality, blah, blah. Our heritage, our history upholded equality more than any person or any culture in the world. So we should look about how we can maintain our families back to the roots. The bonfires, whereby young men were, used to sit with their grandfathers and fathers, and they tell them how a man should behave, how a man should be a great man who can go to the farm and do the farming. But right now, we no longer have such. We have WhatsApp groups of families whereby some people quit. I don't want to know about family, I'm going to make my own family. With broken families, culture and heritage is no more.
Great Honorable Speaker, for the record, Mpako Yange Apudi, Cultures-Rwagweri, nice to see you, and it's always a pleasure sharing and hearing from you. Members, I want us to look at culture in a very diverse and different way. I wanted to ask a few questions to Stephen Rwagweri. Maybe when you come back, you'll answer some. I wanted to ask, what are those cultures that were not good and oppressive that are worth dealing away with? Because not every culture was favorable to some genders. So at work, maybe you'll help me answer that. Another question I wanted to ask is, what important African cultures have been erased or are at the verge of extinction, and as a result of development, innovations, and improvement in technology? Because there are some cultures that we used to have here as Africans. For example, the gentleman talked about bonfires. Our fathers used to tell us stories over the fires. Through some stories, then people used to sing, people used to act in the evening, but now it's just TV. How many times do you talk to your kids about their great-great-grandparents? A kid now can't even mention the grandfather or great-great-grandfather. So that is the effect of the development that we think we are taking on the effect of technology. Now every evening, kids are always on TV. What time do the parents get to talk to their kids about the African culture, about the African heritage? We talk about culture and how does development in Africa, the kind of development that we want, how can we push for development, but at the end of the day, keep our cultures? For example, people go to Kenya to see the Maasai. Just purposely, people go to visit and want to see how Maasai look like, how they dress. Here we have the Karamajons, we have the Batwa, who stay in Bundubujo, in Kisoro and Kabale. Can we develop these communities, but again, keep the culture? Can we develop Karamoja, but again, keep that rich culture, so that when someone comes, like, I want to go to Karamoja, purposely to look at how Karamajons live their life. Can someone go to Toro and say, I want to go to Toro and look at original Toro, how does he live his life? Can someone go to Ankole and say, I want to look at the original Ankole and how they live their life? Can we have this cultural tourism by not just looking at it on a way of getting money, but again preserving the cultures that we had? Can someone go to Pakwach and say, I want to see the real life of someone who stays in Pakwach or Gulu, and the real life of an African man in Gulu? The other thing I want to talk about, Andrew, is the culture of togetherness, Ubuntu. Somehow, somewhere, we are losing it. Everywhere you go, big fences. Even you stay in the same gate with someone, you don't even know their name, you don't know what they do, you don't know where they come from, or you even sometimes you never say hello. But that is not African culture. Anytime you could be moving in the 8 years, if you want some drinking water, you just pass by somewhere and ask for drinking water. Now in Kampala, can you just go and ask for water without money? In somebody's home, can you knock the gate and say, I'm hungry, get me a bogoya or water? What happened to us? So these are the things we should be able to interrogate.
Thank you.
Yeah, and something small, I want to look at culture as a means to foster economic empowerment. You've heard of Bachika Nation. You go and you collect most people, not just Bachikas, but for this Bachika Nation, but people just come to celebrate their culture. We've had a Pako festival. We've had Baturo Kuyogonza. Can we have more of these so that those who are disconnected from their cultures, when you go there, you get reminded of this is how the Batoro used to eat. This is the food that they eat. This is the tone, the local crew. This is how the Bachikas dress. This is their music. Because now the families we're living in, there's a big disconnection from culture. But if we have these events, I am sure we shall trace back our roots. We may not fully do it as how it used to be. If you have an Alur night and you call all Alurs and even new ones to know something about the Alur, I will go and join. This is the only way we can trace back our roots and redefine our culture. Thank you very much, and thank you very much.
Thank you. It's very unfortunate that most of us youth, we don't know anything about our traditions and cultures. In fact, it's unfortunate that most of us even don't know how to speak our own languages very well. And in fact, we are clueless about our origin. Did you know that even that Africa is a cradle land for mankind? Do we really know that civilization started in Africa? This, we are not told anything about it. And our ancestors built pyramids. They built pyramids not using the Western civilization. If you go in Sudan, my sister can confirm to you, there are pyramids, and they were built by our forefathers. They built them using their own knowledge. They never imported knowledge from the Western world.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Like I told you, 26th of August is our Pan-African Pyramid Global Award. This will be the 6th edition, but we'll be celebrating our 10th anniversary. And I will surprise you, the guest of honor and some of the recipients of this year's awards will actually shock you. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Andrew Irumba Katusale.
Komnani komoti, engaba kova